I think a lot of the focus that is in the car comes before you get in the car. I think you need to appreciate what you've been through to get to the point you're at, to get onto that track in that car at that moment.
Green flag.
Welcome to the Blind Apex Podcast, where amateur club racers tune in to get faster.
This episode is brought to you by Deechworks Fuel Systems. Visit deechworks.com for all your fuel system needs. On this episode, we're going to talk motivation and focus. I don't seem to have a lot of that right now, so obviously I'm bringing in a guest. Joining me, future NC State Wolfpack alum, race car driver, a young man proving anything can be done no matter the circumstances. He's pushing to reach his childhood dreams like the rest of us are. Lance Fenderson, welcome to the podcast, sir.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Absolutely. You reached out. I wanted to do some background on you and get into that. We'll get to that. Your story is very different, but I think it will prove a lot of points that I think we want to cover in motivation and focus. But before we get to your story, let's talk about your racing background.
Yeah. So I was actually introduced to racing when I was about 5 years old. I was dragged out to California to a wedding, my aunt's wedding. And at the time I was, had lack of focus, obviously, as a little 5-year-old does. And my dad dragged me away from, I think he wanted to leave just as bad as I did, but dragged me away from the wedding and took me to Sonoma to watch go-karts. And that's when I fell in love with racing. I told him I wanted to try it out, wanted to try go-karting. And I don't know exactly how it went down from there, but one day there was a go-kart at the house and I was trying it out at Boston F1 up in Boston, Mass. So that's how it all started out. Yeah.
And what are you doing these days?
Yeah. So my racing continued. I mean, obviously I was 5 years old and I raced go-karts up through the ranks. I was arguably one of the best drivers in the country at the time of like 14 years old, when I was pushing through like junior and senior rankings, tons of wins, national championships, and started to moved into some open wheel stuff. My first car was F1600. At 14 years old, I was in a 1600 car. And after that, started doing a little bit of sports car stuff, messing around in some Miatas. So spec Miata, that was a blast. You can ask anybody. It's the best racing there is. And I was doing that until I was 17. And then when I was 17, my life changed forever.
Well, let's get into...
Looks a little different now.
I see you say that, and yes, it's different, but you didn't quit. So let's talk about your circumstances and then where you see yourself going. So let's hear that story.
Yeah. So, when I was 17, I was a junior in high school, here in Davidson, North Carolina. And, it was just another day, right? I was a typical kid. Racing was my passion. Racing is what I wanted to do with my life, but I had other things I was doing. I played soccer, I played lacrosse, and so at 17 years old, I broke my neck in a lacrosse game, high school playoff lacrosse game, and it paralyzed me from the chest down. So no feeling, no movement from chest down. And I was rushed to the hospital in Asheville. That's where I was at the time of the injury. And I was there for about 2 weeks. Don't remember any of it. I was all drugged up. went through some fusion surgeries in my neck, and eventually after 2 weeks I was transported to the Shepherd Center in Atlanta, Georgia, where I spent about 5 months there, going through rehab, relearning like every basic function the human body has. I mean, relearning how to eat, relearning how to breathe, relearning how to talk. I had a trach, a ventilator, so I still have my trach scar right here, and yeah, it was hellish. It was insane. You can't prepare anybody mentally or physically for that situation, nor can you prepare their family for what they're about to be thrown into. So after about 5 months, I got to go home, and it was a huge adjustment having to go back to school in an electric wheelchair at the time, in high school, and you're getting looks from everybody, and it's just a foreign world that nobody could prepare you for. But I decided that at the time, like, I didn't know if racing was going to be an option, so I decided to pursue my education, and came to NC State to pursue an engineering degree, and I actually have successfully navigated those waters, and I graduate from NC State with a mechanical engineering degree in December. So that's what the last couple of years have looked like, but as of February of this year, I was able to get back in a race car.
Nice. Is there like a special program that you're in, or to get back into the race car, or is it how does the race car look for you these days?
How does the race car what?
How does it look for you? You're obviously in hand controls, so that's a change, right?
Yep. There's no program. There's no map for anybody to follow. It's one of those things that if you want to make it happen, you got to make it happen. Nobody's going to make it happen for you. So, yeah, it looks different. I was a little bit familiar with the controls I was going to be using. I'm fortunate enough to have a pickup truck that's adapted with hand controls that I drive on the daily. And I was also lucky enough to have a group of people build a racing simulator for me a long time ago. At this point, it's about 3-4 years ago that they got a sim to me, and so I had a little bit of experience as to what I was going to have to do when I got back in a race car. But I truly don't think there's anything that can prepare you for it. Using hand controls, driving at 150 plus miles an hour, like feeling every feeling that a race car driver feels, the G-forces, the acceleration, hard braking. I mean, that's something that drivers develop the feeling for over decades. And it was completely different when I got back in the race car with hand controls and very little feeling in my body. So it was definitely a huge transition. And it was definitely eye-opening at first. Like, first weekend I was back out on track, it was nothing like I remembered.
Yeah, and you'd had a lot of seat time, right, between the karting and doing Spec Miata, being in the open wheel cars. So for you to be, that's a huge transition for you to take on.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just different. I mean, there's some innate things that you keep with you, and they become second nature. And like things like understeer, oversteer, how to react to those situations as they come at you. That's something you'll never necessarily forget. It's like riding a bike in a sense, right? But there are some things that you can't necessarily prepare for. Like, I have essentially like 10-15% function in my body. I mean, I've got pecs like on one, I have like half a pec on my right side, and biceps, not even all of my biceps a little bit of forearm and shoulder and neck. Like that's all I'm working with. I don't have like the core to keep your body stable and your legs to brace your body as you're coming around corners or braking hard or all that stuff. Like it's a completely different form of driving when you get into that scenario where things are actually moving, things are happening at real speed.
Yeah, that's got to be a totally different world, especially when you came from that championship level driving you were doing to now experiencing it in a completely new way. My question is, you were able to finish school, you set your goals on graduating from college. When did you set your goal to get back in the race car?
Yeah, so I'm super fortunate. I really can't take all the credit. My parents were the ones who gave me the opportunity to get back in a race car. They purchased a BMW M240 IR about a year and a half ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it was about a year and a half ago. But for a while we were trying to find people that would put hand controls in it. And one of the major things that has been a challenge for me is my level of injury. Mm-hmm. Like people know names like Robert Wickens and people that have like really good hand function that are trying to do this. I don't. Like I'm quadriplegic, like hands are affected, upper extremities like completely affected from my injury. And that means you can't use buttons, you can't use paddles. Like I don't have the finger dexterity required for that. Mm. So one of the things that we had to do to the race car to make it drivable for me is to do an electronic steering reduction so that it's a little bit lighter. Since I'm having to steer with one arm, using like my pec as a primary muscle that I barely have functioning, to steer that car, it's not easy. So we were getting an electronic steering reduction done. We had like a company in Texas quote us $40,000 to do just that, and we're like, all right, we can't, like we don't know where this is going yet. Like this might not even work. I might get on the racetrack and realize like, okay, this is a bad idea. Like we're not going to just throw $40,000 at this right now. So eventually we found a company that was willing to do it for a little bit cheaper. And yeah, at first it was like I got out there and it was so light. The steering was super light and it was sketchy. We have a membership at VIR. Mm-hmm. So that's where I drive primarily right now. And going up through the S's, I'm sure you're familiar. Like it's terrifying when you're fully capable, able-bodied. Like it's a very challenging part of any track. And I got going up through there with like one hand somewhat on a steering wheel, like, and the other hand trying to control the gas and brake, having no idea what this is all going to turn out to be. And I was like 20 something seconds off the pace when I started out. And it was definitely like, it was terrifying. Like I got back out there. I was like, what am I doing? Like, this is insane. This is maybe not the best idea. Like I don't feel like I've got great control, but that was just that first weekend. And slowly over time, I kind of got quicker, got more comfortable, got quicker, got more comfortable. And, yeah, I've gotten to the point where I'm like, I'm ready to get racing again. And we have, plans of doing so in the next couple of months. And, I'm like genuinely pushing for track record times in the car that I'm running. And, yeah, it was kind of sketchy at first, but quickly came to fruition. And to answer your question, February is when I got back in the race car. Mm-hmm. So it's only been 6 months?
Right.
And before that, it was 5 years without being in a race car.
So let's talk about your motivation. What was motivating you to get when you got in the car, it was sketchy. The uphill S's, you need feedback. So to have a really light steering wheel would probably freak me out anyway. But
Yeah.
you need that feedback in the car. You're trying to adapt to a whole new situation. What's motivating you to keep pushing forward?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest motivating factors for me is that like I was given this opportunity. A lot of people that end up in a situation like myself with high level spinal cord injury, they aren't given opportunities of any sort. Like they're bedridden, and sometimes like a lot of people just accept that. A lot of people with similar injuries to me just accept like, I'm not going to be able to do anything again. Like, this is my life. Poor me. And at times that's their fault, and that's their acceptance that they shouldn't be willing to accept. But there are also times where people are just in a bad family. They don't have the support system around them. They don't have the finances that are required to truly give somebody a like a happy life. Like it's not easy. Every single day is a huge challenge. Just to get out of bed is it takes drive, and it takes a little bit of grit just to get up in the morning. And for me, I was given this opportunity to pursue what I love doing, and I have an amazing support system around me that wanted to make that possible for me. And when I was put in that situation, I'm not somebody that's going to take it for granted. So I think that was one of my biggest motivating factors, was that I've been given this opportunity. I can't let it go to waste.
Yeah, so the world seems to put motivation into two buckets, intrinsic and extrinsic. And so that seems like a very intrinsic initial motivation. But you talked about you're focusing on outcomes. You want to go set records with your car. You want to go out and perform at a high level. And that's a extrinsic type of motivation for you now. And you need to balance both of those things. In your situation, it seems, and correct me if I'm wrong, please do, you fight motivational battles every day that some of us take for granted that may have it. They don't realize it. And then others of us, we don't have it at all, right? Where you're fully capable. You have less to worry about every day. But that sets the stage for you when you set a different goal, a larger goal. You know what it takes. You talked about your grit. You know what it takes to do it. And it's like you've been able to transform how you set your mind to things. And I think that's really important.
Yeah, you're 100% spot on. I'm trying to think of a quote that I heard that I'm going to butcher this, so I apologize, but something along the lines of, if you can find the way in one thing, then you find the way in all things. And that's kind of something that it's resonated with me, of like, okay, as simple as, I've got to get to this class. Okay. There's a massive hill in front of me, but I got to get there. At the end of the day, I'm not going to be given any sort of special treatment when I show up 30 minutes late to this class because there's a hill, right? I got to leave 30 minutes earlier. Like, there's just you got to find ways to accomplish what you need to accomplish. And that's something that everybody has to do. That's not something that's unique to me. Right. So yeah, there's some challenges. Absolutely. And there are a lot of challenges that I face every single day that fully able-bodied people will never appreciate and never understand. The ability to just hop up and go to the bathroom and get back in bed,
Mm-hmm.
or like do these things that are just so simple and you never even think about or consider. But when those opportunities and those abilities are taken away from you, then you truly start to appreciate the things you are capable of doing, right? And it makes you stronger, and it teaches you the ways to approach the things that aren't as easy.
Yeah.
Um,
You're learning, right? You're learning that behavior pattern, that thought process to overcome. It doesn't matter what the obstacle is. You happen to have to overcome a larger obstacle than most, right? But you've learned a behavior, you've learned a process that's going to enable you to be successful in everything. And there's some people who are just intrinsically unmotivated folks. They don't have motivation for certain things, and they may come to the racetrack and they need to learn that pattern of behavior. And
yeah, totally.
I think part of it has to do, you have to really create personally meaningful goals. So they have to be pretty detailed. They have to be specific to you, because if you don't want it in the end, you're not going to work for it, right? You need to have those type of performance objectives. And one big thing for me personally is you can't be afraid to repeat that goal just because you didn't make it the first time or the second time or the third time. Don't let it fall off your list of goals, right? You just have to keep beating the bush. Another big thing for me was there's a quote, I'll probably butcher this one too, but amateurs practice until they get it right and pros practice until they can't get it wrong. It's what I try to teach the little baseball kids that I'm coaching, right? But in the grand scheme of things, it should be a metaphor for how we approach life, right?
Yeah.
When you
one of the things that
go ahead,
that I love saying is like purpose and drive, I think are some of the two biggest things that can lead you to accomplish things. If you now I'm blanking, but just being able to put yourself through hardship is what will train you to overcome hardship. Like if you have things perfectly easy every single time, you're not gonna teach yourself and find a way to overcome those things, right? But if you have these challenges that you're facing every single day, and you have this hardship that's in front of you, and you have no other option but to overcome that hardship and find a way of accomplishing your goal despite the fact that something's in your way, then you're going to learn the process of, like you were saying, that process that can apply to everything.
Yeah,
but you gotta have those hardships that will show you a hard time. If you just have everything handed to you and everything comes easy, you're not going to understand the process of overcoming those hardships. And sometimes you got to put yourself through those things. Sometimes you got to be able to do the things you don't want to do so that you can enjoy the things you want to do later.
There's a BTCC driver that I follow now. He was out practicing and he refused the cool suit. He refused to hook up his helmet. He refused all the amenities for practice. Everybody was like, what is he doing? What is he doing? And his crew chief was like, he has to know what it's like in the car if any of these units fail. And instead of unhooking one at a time, he goes without all of them so that if one of them fails, he can learn to be thankful for the rest of it that's working, you know? We need to take that type of metaphor in the rest of our lives, in my opinion. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's something that even I haven't totally attacked like that. Just going without all systems. I mean, that's not easy. People might overlook that. I mean, when the car is 150 degrees and your blood pressure is spiking, you're dehydrated, you're on that track, and you got to perform. If you're trained to know what to do in that scenario, then you're better off than anybody else.
Yeah, and it's best to practice in a controlled environment. expect people to go to the level that that person did when he went out to do that type of testing. You have to know where you are physically, right? Like, should I put that on myself? No, not all at one time, maybe one at a time, or maybe I rely on the switches and then turn everything off one at a time. That way I know that I can turn it back on. He's a little hardcore. Okay. I mean, but he's paid to drive, right? He trains every day to drive. He doesn't go to his 9 to 5 like I do. He goes to the gym. He does sim work. Like, he does the work that's required to get to that level to then practice at that level.
I think it is overlooked as well, just how difficult it is to be at that top level in a race car. I mean, a lot of people will look at the sport and be like, oh, he's just getting to go play race car driver. And a lot of people, like, there are people that do, don't get me wrong, especially with how the sport's transitioning to just reward money. But
arrive and drive sugar daddies,
Yeah. But to be at that top level, like the driver you're talking about, it's a full-time job. I mean, managing your body, treating your body right, getting the practice you need off the track on the sim, like running countless laps, getting to the track, being able to run test laps, being in the gym every single day, eating right, managing social media, managing your public footprint, managing your websites, managing all this stuff, sponsor relations. I mean, there's so much that goes on behind the scenes that people do not appreciate, that those top level drivers really have to go through.
Yeah, it's a job for a reason, right? Some other things that help keep me motivated, and I don't know about you, but staying connected to the guys that I race with, or the team, or whoever. Watching it, I mean, before we started recording, I was watching Grid Life qualifying at Lime Rock. So don't walk away from what you really love. You need to be involved in it to stay motivated. You had a 5-year absence. Were you still watching racing on TV? Were you still involved in any way?
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. It was one of the hardest things. And it was definitely subconsciously one of the biggest motivators to getting me back in a race car, was being at home, scrolling through social media, whatnot, and seeing this driver, X driver, Y driver, Z driver, that I used to beat every single race at that top level now. And just being like, dang, like, what could have been? And I guess that's one of those things that really motivated me, is like I was constantly seeing that, constantly feeling that pain of like, that's where I should be. Like, that should be me up on that podium right now, and not having that opportunity to be there, and just having to watch that from a distance. That was really, really hard. I think it's if people have seen the movie Rush, it's portrayed really well in that movie as well. Like, I don't remember exactly how he worded it, but Niki Lauda, and he was like laying in the hospital bed, and he told James Hunt, like, you're like, even though you're the reason I'm in this situation, you're also the biggest reason I'm not anymore. Like, you're the reason I got out of that situation, because you were the driving factor that got me back at that racetrack, because I couldn't stand seeing you win. It was like, that's kind of the situation I was in, where these people that are literally racing Formula One, NASCAR, like top level sports car stuff that I used to beat every race, having to see that, it was tough. And I think that was a big motivator when I got that opportunity, and I was given that opportunity, where my parents said, they surprised me. They're like the car was just in the garage one day and they were surprised, whatever. When I was given that opportunity, I wasn't willing to let that slip.
Yeah, but you also went from what could have been to what can I make of what I have right now. And to me, that seems like a huge switch you made in your life mentally to make this happen.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think there are different goals now too. Like when I was growing up, it was always I wanted to be a Formula One driver. I want to be a Formula One driver, and that's a lot of young kids' goals,
Mm-hmm.
right? A lot of young kids in racing, they want to be Formula One, Formula One. It's less about that now. It's less about the destination and more about the journey. I think one of the things that has made me unique, and I was just on a podcast the other day. I was speaking about this, just what has on the surface taken abilities away from me has also given me this capability, and this it's what makes me unique. It's what gives me that superpower to go out and people look at you and people always got an eye on you. And when you first are in the hospital and you're first coming out of the hospital, and that's something that a lot of people grow up and their parents are don't stare, right? Everybody wants to have their eye on you. It's like almost just something that's within you, right? You're curious, and that's something that's given me a unique opportunity. Like when people see me and they see what I'm doing, they're curious no matter who they are.
Mm-hmm.
So I have this platform that I'm currently trying to grow, and I'm trying to utilize of I can inspire other people that are in a situation like mine to see the world from a different way. Because when you're first coming out of the hospital, you see it a certain way, and it's not in good light. So having people that encourage you to turn that mindset around is really important. So that's one of the biggest goals that I have throughout this process that was absolutely not a goal of mine when I first started before my injury.
Yeah, but it's part of what you're making lemonade out of lemons, right? You saw that opportunity and you're not afraid to tackle it, right? It's a new opportunity. It's a different opportunity, and it's an opportunity for a portion of the population that needs that type of support. So kudos for you for tackling that and accepting it and wearing it with pride.
Thank you.
I wanted to get into you in the car a little bit, because I think we take when we strap in things, the focus gets really narrow, but at the same time we can let ourselves have distractions. And you've had a unique situation in that they're going to strap you in a car and you're going to go out, say in February when you went out for the first time, and you're going to have to operate this car at speed. So how did you learn to focus on the track, but also focus on developing your new skills, right? You were a kart kid. You used your left and your right foot and the steering wheel, and now you're using your left and your right hand in a whole new world.
Yeah. So I guess for a little bit of backstory on what is going on in the car right now, like I briefly explained this to you, left hand, I'm pushing forward for brake, left hand, I'm pulling back for gas. Right hand, I've got not locked in, but kind of trapped until I need to rip it out in this tri-pin so that I can steer. And we actually my parents kind of messed up a little bit, and they got a car that they thought could go in automatic, and it couldn't. So the way that things have had to go recently is that my dad, my brother, my girlfriend, whoever at the time somebody's been having to ride in the right seat and shift the car while I'm driving. So it's a circus going on in that car at all times. And I'm currently working on developing a system that uses a sip and puff to shift.
Okay.
So I would like a straw, and I would blow to downshift, suck to upshift. It's what I use on iRacing and on my simulator, but actually getting it running in an actual car is a little bit more difficult. I think it's pretty straightforward. I think it will happen, but just takes the right people. So working on that, but right now, as you're asking, focus, it's very difficult. And I think in a way I'm training my brain in a more intense environment than other people are. And I think it will pay off in the end. Because I'm having to think about this way of driving, and something that's unique is like I can only brake or gas. There's no in between. There's no using both. So I got to get the braking point perfect. I got to get my throttle point pretty much perfect, because there's no maintenance throttle while trail braking, any of that stuff. Like I've got to know my marks and hit them. And so that's like, it takes a little bit more focus to do it in that scenario. I've also got another person in the car that I'm having to make sure everything is going well with. And even the things like getting ready, like it takes me 20, 25 minutes to get in the car and ready to go. And I'm in a way I've had to change from a soldier to a general, whatever you want to say. I've got a team of people around me that's willing to help but doesn't know what they need to do. And so I'm saying, you got to go do this, you got to go do this, you bring this here, you bring that here. So I'm focusing on 1,000 things going on around the car when most people just hop in and they're locked in on driving. They're getting ready, they're preparing their mind for, all right, I got to brake here, I got to hit the gas here, and I'm out here directing a whole circus, and then get in the car, get on the track, and I got to keep my cool. I got to keep my mind together, and manage myself, manage the way I'm driving, manage the person that's in the right seat, having to shift the car. So I just got a lot more to think about than I think most people realize. And so it is difficult. I mean, not being able to focus on the things that a driver should be focusing on before you go out. I don't know that I necessarily have a strategy for it. For getting my mind from that point to being locked in. But I think that's something that's a little more just subconscious for me at this point. Like when I get on the track, I lock in. And that's something that I think has developed over time for me. And I'm lucky to have that experience from before my injury as well.
Yeah. So let me go back a little bit to the mechanical talk that you were talking about. I have a friend, happens to be in Mooresville, North Carolina. DJ, if you're listening, let me know how wrong I am. But he swapped a 10-speed automatic into his car for the sole purpose, and it's a BMW. It has its own programmable like transmission ECU, so that might be an easier way for you. But you're also in a newer car because he's on an E36, an older E36. So yeah, there's other ways, but yeah, if anybody has ideas, hit me up and I'll try to pass them along.
Yeah, what is DJ's last name?
Fitzpatrick.
DJ Fitzpatrick. Okay. Huh. Yeah, there's I think there are plenty of options and ways of going about it. Fortunately / unfortunately, I'm looking to get out of this car in the very near future. So I'm trying not to spend way too much money in this car itself if I'm moving on soon. So but the process would be the same no matter what car I get in. I think I'm going to want the control of being able to shift it. I mean, like Porsche PDK, like, all right, it's going to be pretty dang good, but you still as a driver want that control of, all right, we're pretty weighted, like lateral G's here as we're coming out of turn 1 at VIR. You might want a short shift. If you're running PDK or whatever, it might not do that. So you want that control no matter what. So it is something I'll have to figure out when I continue on to the next car, regardless.
I think a big thing for you being the general, especially until you strap in completely, is you've got to get your crew on a routine. and run a checklist, get them into a routine, set their roles, and then that can help you pre-focus, right? Get into a meditative state. Do your imaginary laps before you get in the car. Your imaginary laps are different than mine. I take for granted that I actually don't shift. When I do my focus laps, it's all about brake and accelerate. But there's things that you're going to want to do to help you focus before you get out there, so you can focus while you're out there. So,
yeah. So what's your racing experience like? What do you
So
drive?
I drive a 2007 Civic Si Coupe. So it's a FG2 Civic Si. And I race in Honda Challenge here in the Mid-Atlantic region. And VIR is one of my home tracks. So I live close to the other home track, much closer than VIR. But, VIR is only 4-ish hours away.
Yeah, it's not that much farther for you. It's about 2.5 from me.
Oh, okay.
So it's like an hour and a half from Raleigh. So if I'm at school, it's a little easier, but that's cool though. So have you been racing like a long time?
I've had my comp license since 2019. I've worked for NASA, National Autosports Association, since like 2001. So I've been in the paddock area for a long, long time. I quit. I used to work in tech. So I've seen a lot of cars. I've seen a lot of folks. Not a lot. I can say 3 or 4 folks in wheelchairs come through tech with various cars built usually by them, completely by them. They were not asking anybody from any business to put hand controls in. They were definitely making all this stuff at home. So not.
Yeah. What is that? I'm curious to hear from your side of things. What does tech look like for people in a wheelchair?
I mean,
is it looking different?
It's a little different, right? So, we do a lot of checking for your cage. We do a lot of checking for the safety equipment and dates. And then essentially when it comes to the adaptive equipment, at least when I was doing it, we wanted to make sure there was redundancies for like nuts and bolts. So Nylox plus Loctite, sometimes jam nutted, pinned, whatever you could do to make sure that things didn't come loose, right? Especially when it was built by somebody else, right? If it's a standalone product installed by a retailer, I only know this because my wife's a driver rehab specialist. They take the liability for the installation, right? So that those folks in Texas were going to install it, and probably most of the price turned out to be their worry about liability for installing it with the purpose of you going on a racetrack. But at the same time, if you build it yourself, tech's just going to want to know that there's a lot of redundancy built into it, not like falling off, right? And then the trick is a lot of people put kill switches at their fingertips, like as far away as they can get it, but still get to it. I don't prefer that for anyone. So I'd prefer it to be much closer than what you would normally see people. Because you won't, in your case, you won't have the same trunk movement other people will to even stretch the belts that they strap themselves into,
Right.
But outside of that, that's it as far as I see. Whatever sanctioning body you're looking for, I would contact them as soon as possible.
Yeah. I think as far as my plan at the moment is there's a BMW CCA event at VIR in October. I believe it's early October, and that would be my first race back. I've already contacted BMW CCA. To be honest, I haven't heard back from you yet, but that's my plan. I have heard. Have you heard the name Torsten Gross?
No.
Okay. shout out Torsten, but he's very similar level injury to me, a little bit lower, so he's got like pretty good tricep function, maybe a little bit better upper chest, but pretty similar. And he's been running Porsche GT4 cars for a while. He runs a foundation called Just Hands.
No, I have. He reached out to me, and I was going to have him on the show.
Yeah,
I have talked to him.
Yep, he's got. I don't think he's gone super far through the ranks, but he has done a decent amount of racing and instruction and just inspiring people. He's trying to get cars with hand controls at a lot of the major racetracks around the U.S. and Canada and even Europe. So that's what he's doing. But anyway, my point being, he's told me that a lot of sanctioning bodies will try to tell you like we need to watch you get yourself out of the race car with nobody else's assistance for safety reasons.
Yep.
Yeah, so I was curious if you've heard that as well.
Yes. Unfortunately, part of at least the organizations that I've been associated with, part of the comp licensing is an egress test. So getting out of the car in a timely manner is important to the licensing requirement. But there's ways around it. There's ways to design the cage to be safe but usable. And you just have to be out of the car. So you don't have to be, you just have to have the door open and be on the ground. Lord knows I hit the ground when I did my test. So I literally dove out. So yeah, that's something I'm going to have to start working on myself. I haven't done it too much. I think it is going to be a big challenge for me. With something that people overlook with my injuries, with no tricep and no core, it's really hard to like get yourself up and moved if like get your butt up out of the seat if you don't have really good hand placement. So yeah, that's something I'm gonna have to start experimenting with pretty soon. You may even have to start training for
it.
Yeah,
and I think it's just the same thought process as we were talking about before. It's just another obstacle. It's not if I can overcome it, it's how I will. So
right, it's the time frame, the effort involved. It will happen. It's not a can I do it? It's when can I get this completed? How hard can I work? How hard will I push myself to complete this goal? So,
yep.
Are you going to move to a Porsche like he is?
Move to a
Porsche like he is?
It's a good question that is I hope I have the answer to in the next week or two. If you want to get into it, I can explain what the next couple months are looking like for me.
Yeah, you don't have to if it's top secret. This probably won't go out for like 3 or 4 weeks. So,
it's not top secret at all. Like I said, first week I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? This is insane. Really quickly, like advanced and got myself comfortable, understood like the different strategies I needed to use to understand what's going on with the car while I'm driving. And at the last test weekend, I got down to 206s, low 206s on DOT tires with somebody in the right seat. So an extra like 250 pounds. So I'm like seriously up to speed. The track record is only a couple seconds away from that. So DOT tires alone will give you about 3 going to full slicks. So I'm there. I kind of proved to myself that I'm ready and I'm capable of getting on the track and racing again. So the plan is to run the BMW CCA event at VIR, and then there's another one at CMP a couple weeks later, and a third at Road Atlanta in November. So the plan is to get a little bit of racing experience back under my belt with those 3 events. And then I'm currently in discussion with multiple teams from VP as well as Porsche Sprint and GT America. So I'm really pushing to try to get a GT4 program set up for 2025. And over the last month or two, I've gotten the support of Mobile One as well as Yokohama. So I have some like big name people that want to back my journey and want to be involved in the story that I'm trying to tell. So currently it's running through numbers, quotes that I've been given by race teams in each of those series and picking what the best option is for me. So not sure exactly yet. Might be a Porsche, might be an Aston Martin, might be a BMW. Not too sure, but if anything, it will be a GT4 car.
Nice. So that's one heck of a way to do it. I mean, you could realize this race dream before you even graduate from college. So
yeah, it's in the works, and I think it's at the tip of my fingertips right now. I think I need to get a couple more big sponsors behind the program. And I think I'll really start to see things come to fruition. My goal is to be running GT3 and IMSA. That's my, I say end goal, but I think the end goal seems to migrate a little bit. But as of right now, that's the goal. I want to get through GT4, maybe a year or two, see how I do. Get up to GT3 in the IMSA series, hopefully WeatherTech, but we'll see what we can do. So yeah, just pushing for dreams right now.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Do you have any other tips or anything for folks on how to stay focused while they're in the car?
I think a lot of the focus that is in the car comes before you get in the car. I think you need to appreciate what you've been through to get to the point you're at, to get onto that track in that car at that moment. It didn't come easily. It didn't come without work. It didn't come without sacrifice. So I think if you're in that car, I think appreciating that you belong there will give you that focus you need. And I also think one of the biggest things I've been using as something to keep me focused is that results don't necessarily come overnight based on your work. They might come overnight, but it might not be based on what you've been doing. So if you're taking baby steps every single day and staying focused off the track, building your social media platforms, building your network, building your skill and your talent on the sim, if you're staying focused off the track, I think the focus on the track will become second nature, because you know that all this work you've been putting in, now's the time that you've been working for. And you have no other option other than to do what you came here to do, right?
For sure. Wisdom right there from a kid not even out of college yet. So where can people follow you, potentially support you, things of that nature?
Yeah, I think right now supporting my Instagram and just following along with the journey is the biggest thing I'd hope people can do. Instagram is Lance Fenderson 23. My website is lancefendersonracing.com. And yeah, I think if people follow along and help push the story out and help me achieve those goals of trying to inspire others that are in a similar situation to get out of bed, do what you got to do, go have some drive, have some grit, try to accomplish something, because your life isn't over. You're still capable of so much. So I think if people just follow along, reach out, give their advice, give their opinion, let me know what they think. That's the biggest thing. I do want to say that if there are any larger racing brands, companies out there that want to reach out, feel free to direct message me on Instagram. My email is also lance@lancefendersonracing.com. My phone number and email are on the website. So anybody that's interested in sponsorship, partnership, always open to that discussion. And I do have hopes of opening some sort of platform up for just anybody to support the program. So yeah, just follow along, keep your eye out. That's all the support I can ask for.
Awesome, man. It's been a pleasure talking to you. I will definitely add you to my list of folks to follow when on, YouTube and stuff. So once we get a ride, I'll start following that live stream whenever it occurs so I can root for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that.
All right. Well, take it easy, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This is actually really good to just have some down-to-earth conversations.
Until next time, keep working on yourself, keep working on the car, and let's get faster.